Right, on we go again. Low life in high places, indeed. The mention of the former trustee being Marduk brings in the group known as the Anunnaki. And I have dubbed them as the Hebrew Anunnaki, and it will become clear in the rest of the show as to why that name. So who are these Hebrew Anunnaki? Well, the Anunnaki themselves are made up of 5 differing species, 2 humanoid races, 1 reptile race, the Draco, 1 avian, not blue avian, which is Thoth, Set, Pleiadian, Nibiru group, and 1 insectoid race, the mantid group. Now here is a timeline of events on this planet. It should not be taken as 100% accurate, but a guideline of events and who was involved in them. Events before the deluge, 450,000 years ago. On Nibiru, a distant member of our solar system, life faces slow extinction as the planet's atmosphere erodes due to their playing with fire or playing with the power pack. And deposed by Anu, the ruler Alulu, who was Anu's father, escapes in a spaceship and finds refuge on Earth. And he discovers that Earth has gold that can be used to protect Nibiru's atmosphere. Now, from my understanding, it is possible that may have been Marduk, not Alulu, who was Anu's father. 445,000 years ago, led by Enki, the son of Anu, the Anunnaki land on Earth, establish Eridu Earth Station 1 for extracting gold from the waters of the Persian Gulf. 430,000 years ago, Earth's climate mellows and more Anunnaki arrive on Earth, among them Enki's half-sister Ninhursag, who was the chief medical officer. 416,000 years ago, as gold production falters, Anu arrives on Earth with Enlil, the heir apparent, and it is decided to obtain the vital gold by mining it in southern Africa. Drawing lots, Enlil wins the command of Earth mission, and Enki is relegated to Africa. And on departing Earth, Anu is challenged by Alulu's grandson. 400,000 years ago, 7 functional settlements in southern Mesopotamia include a space port in Sippar in northwest Iraq. Mission Control Center was Nippur, southwest Iraq, and a metallurgical center, Shurapak, in Iraq west. And the ores arrive by ships from Africa. The refined metal is sent aloft to orbiters manned by Igigi, IGI, then transferred to spaceships arriving periodically from Nibiru. Now, the Igigi were the original miners and builders of settlements, but they eventually revolted against Enlil. And it is my understanding that they also had bases on Mars. I know they did. For the gold and other assets as well. And given they ruined their own atmosphere, it may well have been this very same group that ruined Mars's atmosphere as well. 380,000 years ago, gaining the support of the Igigi, Alulu's grandson Enlil attempts to seize mastery over Earth, and the Enlilites win the War of the Olden Gods. 300,000 years ago, the Anunnaki toiling in the gold mines sparks mutiny. Enki and Ninhursag create primitive workers through genetic manipulation of ape woman, and they take over the manual chores of the Anunnaki. Enlil raids the mines, brings the primitive workers to the Edin, Edin, in Mesopotamia. Given the ability to procreate, Homo sapiens begins to multiply, or so they say. I don't believe that that is correct at all. Stating that they created current man. No, they created a version of man, just not us. And almost certainly not the white race. But given they did the genetic manipulation of ape woman, is it possible what they created was the Neanderthal race of beings? Oops. But this is how Enki is perceived by some in the alt media as the better of the two. No, they were two sides of the same coin game again. Enki was interested in his own power struggle and was using humans to gain it. 200,000 years ago, life on Earth regresses during a new glacial period. 100,000 years ago, climate warms again. The reason it warmed is because of the war 10,000 years prior and the fall of the moon Lalia on our planet, causing mass destruction and death, and the sinking of the continent D'Aria, known better to some as Hyperborea. The Anunnaki and the biblical Nephilim, to Enlil's growing annoyance, married the daughters of Man. 75,000 years ago, the accusation of Earth, and a new ice age begins. And they say regressive types of man roam the Earth. Cro-Magnon man survives. But it was at this point, 75,000 years ago, that Lucifer brought in the jet black race to eliminate the white race. Is it possible the jet black race also were a spin-off of a genetic interference, as mentioned earlier? 49,000 years ago, Enki and Ninhursag elevate humans of Anunnaki parentage to rule in Shuruppak. Enlil was said to be enraged and plots mankind's demise. 16,500 years ago, the Draco signed an agreement with the tribal people for control of the earth. Despite being warned against it by the elders, they went ahead in return for weapons to fight other tribes. 13,000 years ago, realizing that the passage of Nibiru, which was spiraling out of control due to their own stupidity, into Earth's proximity will trigger an immense tidal wave. Enlil makes the Anunnaki swear to keep the impending calamity a secret from mankind. Now, in my opinion, it may not have been Nibiru at all. It could well have been Rahu and Ketu, throwing rocks again. Or more likely, the current orbiting craft in the sky called the moon arrived. And this was stated by several ancient American tribes. They all speak of the moon arriving around that time. Events after the deluge, 11,000 BC. Enki breaks the oath, instructs Zeu Sudra, who is better known as Noah, to build a submersible ship. Noah was one of them, not one of us. He wore the mark of the Nephilim. He had scaly skin. That is what mark of the Nephilim means. And the deluge sweeps over the earth, and the Anunnaki witness the destruction from their orbiting spacecraft. But Noah's ship was also a craft, not a boat the rewriters of his story wished to portray. And it's said that Enlil agrees to grant the remnants of mankind implements and seeds, and agriculture begins in the highlands, and Enki domesticates animals. Perhaps he should have done that with his own family. 10,500 BC, the descendants of Noah, the mark of the Nephilim, are allotted 3 regions. Ninurta, Enlil's foremost son, dams the mountains and drains the rivers to make Mesopotamia habitable, and Enki reclaims the Nile Valley. The Sinai Peninsula is retained by the Anunnaki for the post-diluvial spaceport. A control center is established on Mount Moriah, which was the future Jerusalem. And this is why the Hebrew Anunnaki covet that region, and why I have warned of their caliphate since the 1990s. Jerusalem has zero to do with Jews or any other religion. None. And it's everything to do with these fake gods trying to reclaim our land, minerals and resources. They are cosmic pirates. 9,780 BC, Ra Marduk. Marduk played Ra. Enki's firstborn son divides dominion over Egypt between Osiris and Seth, which is Set. And Set is said to be the 3rd son after Cain and Abel, which came from their Adam and their Eve, not ours. 9,330 BC, Set seizes and dismembers Osiris, assumes sole rule over the Nile Valley. 8,970 BC, Horus avenges his father Osiris by launching the First Pyramid War. Set escapes to Asia, seizes the Sinai Peninsula and Canaan. 8,670 BC, opposed to the resulting control of all the space facilities by Enki's descendants, the Enlilites launched the Second Pyramid War. The victorious Ninurta empties the Great Pyramid of its equipment. Empties the Great Pyramid of its equipment. All of which means, as I have stated, that those pyramids were not tombs for pharaohs. There was never a single tomb in the pyramids. They are or were energy centres, and craft used to land on them to charge up. Ninhursag, the half-sister of Enki and Enlil, convenes a peace treaty. Ninhursag, who first arrived on Earth 4,222 years previously, I might add. Which tells you two things. A, time is not as we know it, and B, these entities use technology and other more heinous methods for life longevity. And the division of Earth is reaffirmed. Rule over Egypt transferred from the Ra-Marduk dynasty to that of Thoth, which is the avian on the hieroglyphics. Heliopolis built as a substitute beacon city. 8,500 BC. The Anunnaki established outposts at the gateway to the space facilities, and guess which place is one of them? Jericho. (7,400 BC), as the era of peace continues, the Anunnaki grant mankind new advances. Turn it in. They learned all of the advances from us. And the Neolithic period begins, and the demigods rule over Egypt. 3,800 BC, urban civilization begins in Sumer, as the Anunnaki re-established their olden cities, beginning with Eridu and Nippur. Anu comes to Earth for a pageantful visit. A new city, Uruk or Erech, is built in his honour, and he makes its temple the abode of his beloved granddaughter Inanna, who is also known as Ishtar. Kingship on Earth, 3,760 BC. Mankind granted kingship, just not our type of mankind. And Kish is the first capital under the aegis of Ninurta. The calendar began at Nippur, and civilization, it says, blossoms out in Sumer, which is the first region. 3,450 BC, primacy in Sumer transferred to Nannar, Sin. And Marduk proclaims Babylon, gateway of the gods. Remember the song, The Gates of Babylon by Dio we played? The Tower of Babel incident. The Anunnaki confuse mankind's languages, courtesy of the Lord of the Bible, Anu. And his coup frustrated Marduk, who was playing Ra at the time, and returns to Egypt. He deposes Thoth, seizes his young brother Dumuzi, who had betrothed Inanna. Incest everywhere. Dumuzi was accidentally killed and Marduk imprisoned alive in the Great Pyramid, and he was freed through an emergency shaft and then goes into exile. Now, as I understand it, he was exiled on the island St. Helena in the South Atlantic, which is not far from the interestingly named island called Ascension, and also not far from the mysterious suspended in mid-air island that was spotted by a US naval ship. 3,300 to 3,100 years ago, BC, 350 years of chaos end with the installation of the first Egyptian pharaoh in Memphis, and civilization comes to the second region. 2900 BC, kingship in Sumer transferred to Erech, E-R-E-C-H. Inanna given dominion over the third region, the Indus Valley civilization begins. Funny word, civilizations, said in one part to be about citizens, but civil is also law, which brings in the religious law, the Talmud. 2650 BC, Sumer's royal capital shifts about, kingship deteriorates, Enlil loses patience with the unruly human multitudes. 2371 BC, Inanna falls in love with Sharu Kin, Sargon. He established the new capital city Agade Akkad, and the Akkadian Empire was launched. 2316 BC, aiming to rule all four regions, Sargon removes sacred soil from Babylon, and the Marduk-Inanna conflict flares up again, and it ends when Nergal, Marduk's brother, journeys from South Africa to Babylon and persuades Marduk to leave Mesopotamia. 2291 BC, Naram-Sin ascends the throne of Akkad. Directed by the warlike Inanna, he penetrates the Sinai Peninsula and then invades Egypt. 2255 BC, Inanna usurps the power in Mesopotamia and Naram-Sin defies Nippur. The great Anunnaki obliterate Agade, but Inanna escapes. Sumer and Akkad occupied by foreign troops loyal to Enlil and Ninurta. 2220 BC, Sumerian civilization rises to new heights under enlightened rulers of Lagash, the snake. Thoth helps its king Judea, spelt with a G, G-U-D-E-A, all in the word, you see, build a ziggurat temple for Ninurta. Now, there was a ziggurat temple on their homeworld, built totally out of gold, most of which was derived from this planet, until it was destroyed in an incident back in 2015 because the Draco broke their agreement. Ain't that right, Shane? 2193 BC, Terah, T-E-R-A-H, Abraham's father, another one who is one of them, not one of us, born in Nippur into a priestly royal family. Priestly families are known as Cohens, as was Genghis Khan. Khan means Cohen, which is why so many Jewish law people are called Cohen, all operating under the Talmudic law. 2180 BC, Egypt is divided. Followers of Ra Marduk retain the south. Pharaohs opposed to him gain the throne of Lower Egypt. 2130 BC, as Enlil and Ninurta are increasingly away, central authority also deteriorates in Mesopotamia. Inanna's attempt to regain the kingship for Erech does not last. Indeed. A seedy family tale of incest, war, infighting, greed, arrogance, and complete disregard for anything or anybody, including their own. Hence the line in their book, not ours, "Let us make man in our image and likeness." That is not said in the context of creation, but their traits. But reading through that timeline, though, one has to ask the question of, are all the Muslims of that region a part of their culture, not ours? Given they stated they built civilizations with their people, all of which means the whole of Arabia, parts of Africa, the Middle East, except Iran, are all their creations. Where the people just described the ones brought and created here to mate with the white race, and ultimately destroyed the white race with their genetic mixing plan. Ponder closely on that. Maybe the next section will reveal more.